Next, we are moving on to the Great Blue Heron right at the corner of King and Rideout Street, and this was installed in 2010. London-based artist Ted Goodden's affinity for the Great Blue Heron and the inspiration for this public artwork can be traced back to 1970, to his days as a stained glass apprentice. On his spare time, he would use metal wires, the kind that is usually used for stained glass artwork, to make smaller little linear bird-like sculptures. Goodden said that out of literally hundreds of sculptures he had already made, there was one he made in 1979, and that's the one that he actually used as the main inspiration for this Great Blue Heron that we see today.
So apparently he held on to that little sculpture that he made back in the day and kept it because it just worked for him.
Yes,
and
ideas never die.
he ended up using it for the design proposal. That's so interesting. So Goodden has a background as a stained glass artist, just like Reed and Balabanov. Interesting kind of coincidence right there. But Goodden was always enchanted by the interaction of sunlight and glass. In fact, Goodden said, because I actually interviewed him a little while ago, he said, light is foundational to stained glass. And this, he said, because he was thinking about his days back in the stained glass studio when he was an apprentice. I guess when he was taking breaks away from working and making little sculptures, he would just sort of daydream and just look around at the fascinating array of colors that would reflect through the windows onto the walls and floors and tables in his studio. And he called these colored clouds. And he said he would just watch these translucent clouds slowly drift over the course of the day, kind of like a dreamy conglomeration of fractured sundials, which actually sounds kind of poetic.
Yeah.
But this really gave him an appreciation for stained glass and for light. And this is what really inspired him to bring stained glass into the sculpture. Goodden said that stained glass is a sacred art form with strong philosophical and spiritual roots emanating from the medieval period. And many ancient calendars and our modern day calendar has been arranged around the movement of light, particularly by way of the summer and winter solstice. So the idea of a solar clock had long interested Goodden. And this idea found its way into the artwork design when it was decided that it would be attached to the side of the building instead of being installed on the sidewalk. So it's kind of interesting that the artwork, because of different bylaws and policies and procedures, actually ended up being attached to the building. But that gave Goodden the impetus really to put a stained glass piece in that so it could then reflect down onto the ground.
It's beautiful seeing how artists work around an issue or something that might have been a problem, because this actually allowed Goodden to sort the expertise of an artist named Peter Andre, who now figured out how to insert the glass mandala itself into the artwork at a specific angle to chart and display the reminiscence of the colored shadow that he has always loved and he was always mesmerized by as the summer solstice itself. And in doing so, Andre hired a stonemason that made a tile, which was now installed precisely at the right spot on the ground that would line up with the colored light beam marking this special day.
So it's amazing. On the summer solstice, you can actually go to the site, and at a certain particular period of time, you can see, I think it's pretty much for the whole day, the sun goes through the stained glass window and that little piece, and it lands perfectly on the tile. It's quite a mathematical achievement. And it just goes to show you that public art can be anything, even a celestial calendar. Unbelievable.
Beautiful.
Beautifully unbelievable.
Yes.